Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I'm chatting to John Steele, a fellow West Yorkshire based photographer. Hello.
Hey up, you all right?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm sound. Yeah.
Good.
Do you want me to go proper Yorkshire on this? Or?
You can go as Yorkshire as you want. We were just talking about how my uncle thinks I've got a Yorkshire accent now, but you said I'm definitely still Southern, so...
Yeah, there's a way to go, isn't there?
Yeah.
Move to Barnsley, that'll sort you out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that accent's thick.
Yeah.
Thick in Barnsley.
Yeah, well, I did a wedding not so long back, and it was for Barnsley folk, and it was like I needed subtitles. Like, honestly, like I'm Yorkshire, but then I'd meet one, and I'd be like, "What did you just say?" And then I'd get that one, and then you think, right, I've met the most broad person, and then next person comes over, and I have no idea what language they're talking. It was like, I was like, I see that. So yeah,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That it's like so thick that even you as a Yorkshireman can understand it.
Some folk, particularly certain areas of Barnsley, they're so strong as their accent. So yeah, get your son over there. You'll be right.
That's it. I thought my next door neighbour, his is really strong, and I thought, I'm picking up a bit of like what John's saying, like my next door neighbour, because he's also called John. And then he's 70 odd, late 70s, I think. And then if you catch him after he's been at the working men's club, I can't understand a single word he said.
No.
Super thick accent.
Nice, sounds good, does John? Yeah. It's always a working men's club as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like my dad always were in working men's clubs, so yeah.
Yeah, and he walks like up the hills all the time, so he's kind of a perpetual like angle. He never walks straight. He's like walking at an angle all the way up the hills all the time.
Yeah.
Must have calves of steel, that bloke, I tell you.
Yeah, must have. Surprising that you're living on an hill in Orm Firth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't expect that. Yeah.
So we, just to fill the listeners in a little bit, we both met because Katie is rebranding and she asked you to shoot, and she asked me to bring a chair for her and help her tape the zebra print rug to the floor.
Well, that sounds
to the cliff.
Normal, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a normal job, isn't it, John? You know, that's just like a normal life of creative in West Yorkshire.
Bring a bright coloured chair to a cliff, sit on it, chill. Get your zebra rug out, gaffer tape his rug to a rock, boom. Yeah.
And I've just been lucky enough to see the gallery. And it looks so good.
And fun.
Just such a good shoot, and it was so cracking to like have a laugh together, because we'd actually not met before then.
No.
And it was nice to meet you and work with Katie together, and I think I was holding a light for quite some time above my head.
Yeah, you were holding a light, you were a voice-activated light stand, as they're called in the trade.
And then,
no, it's great. You just muck in, don't you? I fell off the rock, knackered my ankle.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I saw just your lens out of some grass behind a rock.
Well, you got to get your angle, ain't you, somehow? But, if I come back from a shoot and I'm clean, I ain't done it right, have I? So, I'll just get stuck in. But, it's just have to get everyone to go along with my ideas. So I wanted Katie on a higher rock, dangling, a bit more dangerous, but we played it safe-ish.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will also fill the listeners in. She was wearing 6-inch heels, I think.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, she would have coped on the. I do not doubt her fitness ability to be a dangle off the rock,
absolutely,
100%. But I didn't want her to break an ankle landing on those heels because they were very precarious.
No, I just broke an ankle walking
and
down
you were
an hill.
Trainers.
I know. It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good fun, and it was like at sunset time, and it was just really good fun. And I think it's nice to meet different creatives who do other things. So you shoot a lot of weddings and a lot of commercial stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I kind of say I'm a people photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So anything with people, I'm happy to do it. Like, if it's tin of beans, I ain't photographing that. If it don't talk, I don't want to photograph it. or move, because sometimes I photograph dogs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, like you crawling in, like arranging baubles and stuff. That's like my idea of hell.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like, give me people. So I'm a people person, really. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. But it all kind of blends into one. And I've always struggled with like kind of niching, because I can do everything. And it's like, right, people photography is about as niche as I can get. So yeah, weddings is a big part of it. So it's commercial. So yeah.
yeah. I noticed on your Instagram that all of the people that you photograph look really relaxed and really happy, and you've got like a lot of grins and things like that, even on the commercial side, which I think sometimes some people say, from like lawyers who have like headshots, sometimes they don't want to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But how do you get people to relax to get those shots?
Monday we're photographing solicitors, and Tuesday we're photographing solicitors. So yeah. The secret for me, right, is I hate having my picture taken.
Yeah.
So I don't like photographers that are telling you like weird things to do. So all I do is I just find out about who they are. It's like there's always something that you can kind of pull out, because people buy from people. And you don't want, you look on LinkedIn and things, and you look at people and they just look miserable. And why would you approach them? Why would you want to listen to them? You've only got like one chance to make that first impression, haven't you? So, like my expertise is to try and make a shoot fun. No matter what I do, it has to be fun, and I have to get something out of them. Sometimes even kind of I have to apologize before I even start and say everything that comes out of my mouth in the next hour, just ignore, because it's there to get reactions. So a lot of times I'm finding out about the person, and like I might not even take a picture for like 5-10 minutes, because it's just building that relationship. So yeah, and sometimes I only get 10 minutes with them at most. So it's just working fast. It's reading body language. It's a lot of like NLP as well. It's like I've not studied it, but because I've done it 20 years, I know what makes people tick.
Yeah.
And I just think, what would I hate, and do the opposite? And then, like a lot of people that I photograph, like the people that hate having their picture taken. So I used to have a tagline: "Real pictures for real people." No, it's photographs that get attention. But the other thing as well is I always try to, if I can, use outdoors. Because people like me, so someone who hates having their picture taken, if I walked into a studio and see all these big like lights and everything, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
So if I can use like a city as a backdrop, it just makes it so much more interesting. And we're walking and we're talking, and I'm finding out about them. Have you got any kids? What are your hobbies? It's not just work. So yeah, that's kind of how I work, really. It's just like people hire me to get something out of that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really, like, you're so right. If you walk into a studio setting and you're not comfortable with having your picture taken, it is really intimidating.
Yeah.
And actually, like, just chatting and having your picture taken while you're chatting actually sometimes is where you get, like, people are most relaxed, because they're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I'm the same as you. I don't particularly like having my picture taken. It's probably from all the times where my face has been caught while I'm holding up necks of clothes behind mannequins, and you're talking and
but you could have fun with that. You get just like so you can you put your eyes over and stuff. And like, yeah.
The amount of times though I've been caught and I'm like, oh, how many chins have I got today? Because I'm walking and turning around.
Best not to look, really.
I'm like, delete that one, delete it. But that's really cool that you get people relaxed enough to get those really lovely shots out of them, actually.
Yeah, and that's what I do. That's why people hire me. That's my kind of my superpower, really. It's just making people feel relaxed, and it's like you're chatting to them, and you see something that just makes them tick a little bit more. Sometimes you're like photographing Dave from accounts or something, and they come out and you're like, "Hello, don't want the picture taken." and you've got to like try and find something. I was like, well, what do you do like doing when you're out of work? Nothing, I just work. All right, okay. Well, have you got a family? No. Right, okay, where are we going with this? Right.
Yeah.
Like, do you play computer games? Oh, yeah. Right, okay, we're getting there. Let's dig a bit deeper. And yeah, it's just finding that. I had a guy the other week. I photographed for like a law firm, and they use me on a regular occasion. And he was like kind of a new starter, and he came out and he went, I don't want my picture taken. I was like, well, that's good, isn't it? And they'd actually postponed the shoot like 4 times. And like the marketing person, had already given me a bit of an insight saying, you know, he just don't want his picture taken. I was like, right, well, let's see what we're doing. And there were 2 of them that came out, and I said, right, you know, and I could tell that this guy, he didn't want his picture taken. So I thought, right, I'm not going to be photographing him first. I'm going to use the other guy. And then I found out that this guy, like, I got onto talking about music, and he loved like vinyl, and he's telling me about all his Oasis records and stuff. And then I found out that he actually went to the same high school that I did, and he was like, we knew the same teachers, and like, and within like 10 minutes, he didn't even want to stop. I was like, that's it. He's like, no, I want more. I was like, yeah. So like, you just got to. There's always something you can get out of someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to keep going, really, and not in a pushy way, but it's like, right, I've got a job to do, so I need to get some results no matter what. It's like yesterday. Again, this same solicitors. I was with the solicitors on Thursday, and they says, "Oh, John, like we've got an urgent press release going out, and it's for someone who's a solicitor that deals with agriculture." And I was like, right, well, we need a farm then, don't we? I was like, right, have we got a farm? I was like, right, we'll find a location in Bradford. And no matter what, we had to do this shoot in whatever weather we were getting because of the time. And I rocked up, and it was torrential rain. It was so windy. It's like it was bad conditions. But I was like, is there any cows? So I found a field that cows, and like her hair were just going everywhere. But the thing is, she was up for it. She was happy. Like she loved it. So it was like a problem solving thing. It's like, right, how can we get something that is good enough for press and that looks like a farm in this wind, in this rain, where it doesn't look like it's windy and rainy. So it took about an hour to work through everything, but we got some great pictures. But it's because of her. She was like, right, she wasn't complaining. She was like, right, how can we do this? And it's like, oh, should we do this? And yeah, so.
I think that makes all the difference as well, because as creatives, we problem solve in a different way to other people. Yeah. And if you've got somebody who's on board with it, who's just coming along for the ride and is like, yeah, I'll do whatever you say, that makes your life like so much easier as well, and you get a better shot as well.
Absolutely. And it's like sometimes, and I've always had it on like my websites throughout the years, I've always said, look, don't hire me to photograph you on a white background. I'm not that person. I'm a creative. I like light. I like problem solving. Like, I don't just want easy. Don't hire me for that. Hire someone else. But then I'll go, and they'll go, oh, can you take a picture on white background? And that's what they're thinking. And like, I'm thinking, right, I'm wanting these people dangling upside down in a tree.
Yeah.
And you've got to do this like dance. Sometimes you have to do it their way and then start pushing it a little bit more to get a little bit closer to you. So you might have them standing next to a tree, but not, yeah. But it's always like this little dance, and it's just reading people, and I'm just good at reading people.
Yeah, and that definitely, like I said, it definitely shows through your images.
Yeah.
So you say you've been shooting for 20 years.
About that.
What made you pick up a camera 20 years ago?
Right, here we go. Right.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, right. I don't know, right. I was always lost as a kid. Never knew what I wanted to do. When I was at school, I went to a really bad school in Leeds. Like, I messed around in the first year of high school. But I wasn't thick. But because I messed around in the first year, I got stuck with all these blooming numpties, and then that's when they put like the sets for like the rest of the year. And I used to it was a really bad school. It was in bad area, and like every science lesson, they used to get my hair set on fire and stuff. And it wasn't good. But I decided that I messed around, but I need to knuckle down. But then I had all these idiots that were trying to work with me because I knew the answers. And so basically, I didn't do very well with my exams. And I thought, right, well, I don't just want to leave and get a job. Like, I went into like sixth form, but the only way I could get into sixth form was through a BTEC. I did a BTEC first in business and finance, and we'll try to avoid the subject of money because, like, I've done whole podcasts on my fear of money. But so I did this BTEC first, and then I thought, right, okay, I'll do a BTEC national. So I did a national, and then halfway through the national, I managed to get a job in a solicitor's as an office junior, and I didn't even know I was getting that job, to be honest. Like, I was I was on a work experience at an insurance broker's, and I was in the post room, and the people in the post room used to meet up for like a chat, like go to a dinner with like other people. And I got one day they came back and says, "Oh, Bob Brown too here asked for this bloke." So I went round. I thought I'd just getting a parcel or something, and went into this bloke's office. He's asking me loads of questions. I thought, he's a bit nosy, isn't he? And the next thing I know, he gave me a job.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I was on like, for a year, I was on like £6,250 or something. But I left college because of it. I thought, I'm raking it in now, £6,000, woohoo! And like worked every hour under the sun. And then I ended up breaking my ankle I was there, nearly 2 years. And just before, like a week before, I could have me 2 years and get a bit of protection within the company. They sacked me for breaking my ankle. So, so then I was like, right, okay, I don't know what to do. I've given up my college. I didn't finish that. And at the time, I was massive into skateboarding. I was like, that was my life. So I started working in a skateboard shop. And I was like, right, what am I doing with my life? I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, right, I'll go and do a HND. So I'd kind of done my BTEC, and I thought, right, I'll get into HND. And I was like business and marketing, which was great. It was brilliant. And again, I was doing skateboarding, and then I finished that, and then I had the opportunity to top it up to a degree. So I did a business degree, hated it, but I just didn't understand business, and I didn't want to do it. Ended up working in a call centre. So I was like, right, I'd always done that for my parents and stuff. It was just to please.
Yeah.
And then I thought, what do I like? I thought, well, I've always liked sports. I've always been a skateboarder. So let's do a sports degree. And as part of my sports degree, I did a module called events management. And you had to set up an event, come up with it, and run this event. And obviously, me being me, went to local skate park, set up a skateboard competition, but it was different. It was called Smiley Culture, because at the time I was called Smiley John. And I realised that a lot of skateboarders were very, very, very creative, and they never had like a place to show their work. So we had all these bonkers like competitions, like jumping over bins and stuff, and then we had this art exhibition upstairs, and we had like a Tony Hawk PlayStation competition, things that had never been done, and everyone were loving it. And when I was planning it, I thought, this is going to be a good event, is this? And I thought I could do with some pictures. At the time, I had a friend he was a really good photographer. And I said, oh, can you just come down and take some pictures? It's like, all right, yeah, sounds interesting. So the event went well. And then a couple of days later, I says, oh, can I have a look at pictures? I went into his bedroom and he had a Mac. And on this Mac, he had this like amazing picture of like Whitby. I says, "Oh, why'd you download that?" Thinking it was going to say National Geographic. And then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, no, I took that weekend." I was like, "Right, I want to learn how to do that." So I just bought a camera off him and he showed me the basics. And it was like, right, just go out and play. So I just wanted to be a photographer after that. I'd never wanted to be a photographer. So it was like, right, that's what I want to do. So
that's so cool that you kind of figured out what you wanted to do whilst doing something that sounds really cool as well. It's something I would have gone to as a kid, like as a teenager.
It was ace with Smiley Culture. Loved it. Yeah.
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
And then, so from then on, did you learn how to? Are you self-taught with repro and like?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I used to go out with him, and we used to go to like Yorkshire Dales and shoot trees and stuff. But he was such an amazing photographer. Like he was so underrated. And once you've learnt the basics, it's kind of like you try and find your own path, then, don't you? And it's like, well, what do I like photographing? Do I like photographing trees? And I thought, well, I do like photographing trees, like in Yorkshire Dales and stuff. Why not? And then, whilst I was doing my sports degree, I decided I was trying to get a job for when I left, really, and I was trying to get into sports development. So I was in the sports development unit in Leeds City Council, but my face didn't fit, and they says, "Oh, we really like you, but just get your job in gym. We'll get you gym instructors." So I basically ended up just stuck as a gym instructor for 5 years, not having to think. Like I'd probably think about 30 seconds a week. And it was just Groundhog Day. And it was great because I knew everyone and I'd just chat to everyone and everyone loved me and everyone wanted me to be the manager. But because I wasn't a people pleaser and a puppet, I was just going nowhere. So on my days off, I'd sometimes photograph some events for Leeds City Council because they always used to have a photographer that came in because there were all these things happening, and I'd just shadow him and he didn't talk to me. And I just started taking my own pictures just to not even build my own portfolio, just to play. And then they went, "Oh, your pictures are actually better. We might start using you." So on my days off, I was kind of just photographing for Leeds City Council. And I was liking it more and actually earning more money than I was the rest of the week. And I was like, right, yeah, I could maybe do this. And then one day I'm a gym instructor, next day I'm a professional photographer. I'm like, right, what do I do now? I was like, honestly, I was lost. I was like, all right, yeah. And then Leeds City Council didn't want to use me anymore because I didn't work with them. I was like, I'm stuck. Yeah.
So how do you find your clients now? You were saying that you work with a solicitor like on the regular basis. Like, how do you find pitching for work? Because I know quite a lot of us creatives really find it quite cringy.
Yeah, well, this is where I'm completely different than everyone else. And I've had this conversation recently. Probably 99% of my work comes through word of mouth or referral. Like, I really need to get my marketing game going. And I have a coach and he was telling me, we're working on marketing at the moment. Because, everything is just, people just find me.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's kind of, I'm not in control of that. There's no kind of, I've got no sales funnel or anything like that. I don't send any mail out or anything. It's just people hear about me because I've been going so long and I have a good reputation, but it's kind of, I don't really pitch. So, yeah.
It's that's really cool though that it comes from word of mouth, because I think a lot of weddings come from word of mouth as well. Like from what I've heard from other wedding photographers, they kind of, someone shoots their wedding, then someone at that wedding gets married and they're like, "Oh yeah, who was your photographer? I loved all the pictures." It kind of, that naturally is organic like that, isn't it? But
it's great when it's like that. And I shot one wedding where there were 5 of my brides in one room.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, yeah, well, John shot our wedding. We want you. We love the pictures, yeah. And then you kind of you know everyone in the room by that stage. So that's really good. But the thing is, I'm not a salesperson. I struggle with selling. I think I always say there's two different kinds of introverts, or two different sorts of creatives. Sorry, there's the introverted people who are really good at doing what they do, but not very good at telling people. And then there's the ones who are like kind of, more extroverted characters who are on like stories and reels all the time. Oh my God, I've just shot the most amazing pictures ever. You should see these. And like that to me it's so cringeworthy, but people buy into that. And I'm finding it more and more difficult, particularly with weddings now, with like the whole TikTok thing, to relate. So, I do struggle. I do some wedding fairs, but like, again, if you look at my kind of my weddings Instagram and my weddings pictures, I always try to kind of think, who are my people? Who do I want to attract? It's not about putting the pictures of the people's weddings who you've photographed, because they've used you. So it's like, who's my ideal target market? So I always have a thing, is it emotional? Is it like fun? Or is it completely bonkers? And if it's any of them, then it'll go on. And that's the same with my my kind of my marketing at wedding fairs. So I always want to look completely different because I know who my target market is. So on my stand, I have like these big like A0 prints. I have one of a bride falling off a space opera. I have one where a bride's doing a cartwheel and showing everything. I have one where the couple going on a disability scooter with a dog and some confetti. And then I have one where there's the bride and groom stuck up about 10 meters up in air on a digger. And these are like things that attract my target market, and they make me look different, because if I go to a wedding fair, there's 10 other photographers in that room, and they've all got pictures of like brides and grooms in a field looking bored.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I be different? And I attract them people. So I was like, I have a good chat, because at first I always struggle I hate just standing on an exhibition going, hello, how are you? When you get married? But then there's like real salespeople who are and they get all the bookings, and like I do get a few, but not so many, but I know my target market is. And often as well, like if I meet someone and I just think they're wrong for me, I just say no.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, because I'm spending a whole day. My average day for a wedding is 16, 17 hours. And it's a long time to spend with them. So I've only ever had like 3 complaints in my life. And that's when people have hired the wrong photographer. They've hired me to do all this romantic, elegant stuff. Whereas I'm more of a documentary photographer. I'm there to capture and tell the story. And Yeah,
I think it is hard. I even think when we got married, I don't think we went to like a wedding fair thing.
You don't want to.
No, like I think there's a couple of alternative ones actually popping up in like Manchester and Leeds and stuff now, which I think like when we got married like 7 years ago, that wasn't really a thing. But I struggle the same as you. I'd struggle to sell myself in an exhibition space like that.
Yeah.
And I think like as much as I can talk till the fucking cows come home, and like I post stuff on social media and I try and make it like funny, because you're so right, people buy into you before your product.
Yeah.
It's hard to constantly be like switched on like that and think, oh well, this could be a quick 2-minute reel or a 30-second reel to literally reel some people in. And it's hard to kind of shout about what you do without feeling like cocky and a bit cringy as well.
But the thing is like, because we care so much about what we're doing our job. We're not thinking, oh, I've just got to do this for a reel. And you're like, hold on, these this zebra rug needs like sticking to this rock, or it's going to fall off. It's going to fall off, like it's going to fold over. Like, and I'm so engaged in like you say, building that rapport with my customer. I don't want to then just go, oh, just wait there while I just get my phone out. And I actually did it yesterday for the first time, and it's because we had this great relationship with my customer, my client, and I was like, I says, oh, do you mind if I just like take a 2-minute, well, not even that, it's literally 15-second video. And I just took some pictures whilst I was just filming while I took some pictures. And it was literally just to say, I'm in the middle of a field in the rain with a solicitor. And I'm trying to get better at showing myself because I've always been terrible at it. But people like, yeah, your days are so interesting. And even now people are like, oh, you look busy. I was like, well, I'm always busy. I just don't show people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now like with weddings, and it's just turned into social media fest, really. Like nowadays, and because I'm older, I'm 48, and it's kind of, I see weddings differently than most people. For me, it's all about people and like the emotions and like them real life stories. So when I'm thinking, right, I want the bride's dad to come in and see the bride dress for the first time, that's a real special moment. Now you've always got some bridesmaid going, no, but we need to do a TikTok dance. And I'm like, you don't get this, do you? And I'm really struggling with that side of it now, because it's always about how can we make a TikTok instead of letting this day fold and like make sure it's real, you know?
Yeah, and I think as well, it's great that people want to showcase their stuff to others who maybe can't get there and they want to use social media or whatever. But also the moments you're capturing are going to last a lifetime.
That's it.
I think some of the kind of like, oh, let's do a TikTok dance, like, oh God, I felt like my eyes rolled really far back.
Yeah.
But I think it's, again, that's different. What you're saying there is different to what even my wedding was 7 years ago, you know. And I think the trends change and what people want changes, but I think you're right. Like, you're taking pictures that hopefully last a lifetime, and like the day can unfold in a more organic way than
absolutely.
I think some of the social media stuff can be really forced, especially when it's like bridesmaids doing dances, weird dances.
Oh yeah, it's just trends, and I'm like, just let me know what I'm doing, But
it's, I guess that's just like another challenge that pops up, isn't it? Like it's another thing that you have to creatively like think outside of the box to kind of collaborate with people on, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like when phones started coming into weddings, like I've always embraced it, whereas some people are like, I can't believe they're using the phones. Whereas like, no, I know it's part of the day, so document that, you know. I document things.
I think it's the phones one's a weird one. I mean, like, I've seen people at ceremonies like lean out of the aisle taking pictures on iPads and stuff, and I'm like, oh God,
I've always got it.
Oh, I'm like, like just enjoy the bloody moment. It's like when you see people at a gig and they've all got their phones out recording it.
Like, it's like, why? Like,
just enjoy it. Enjoy it while you're there. Please.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you as well about, kind of brings me on to when we worked together on Katie's shoot, and it was so nice to work with you. And we actually there was Katie, Paige, social media manager.
Content creator.
Content creator, that's the word. And doing like some behind the scenes reels and stuff for Katie. And you were saying to me before we press record, it was nice to have somebody there to help carry props and stuff like that. Because I think you said to me you've done a lot of, I know I've seen a sunset shoot or two that you've done before. Did you have to carry all of those props yourself between you and the guy?
No, on that one, that was my friend Oliver. And at the time he had a cake. He did like wedding cakes.
Yeah.
And we used to go like meet in Denver Dale where he was, and we used to just sit in a car park. And we're like, oh, what should we do? And he's just like me. He's just down to earth. He's just like, just talks nonsense. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, you want to shoot? Like, next time there's going to be a sunset, I'll just give you a bell. And so I saw, like, the weather was looking good. I said, oh, stick some stuff in your van and, like, come up. And his wife, Katie, she just brought, like, tables and chairs and lamps and everything. And at first we rocked up to Home Moss near you. And there were all these bikers and stuff. I thought, it's a bit intimidating for them, isn't it? So I was like, we just drove up the road a little bit on the right hand side, found this lay-by, parked up, and just set up this like little scene. And we just created it just for fun. Like, for me, like, if I can get out and use the camera and create something, I will. And it was very organic. We didn't force anything, and then people were just stopping by all the time, going, "What's happening here?" And it just went like that. And that was funny because so many people saw them pictures, and this was years ago. And then people started to try and copy them, but they did really bad jobs of it. And I was like, honestly, just don't. And like, again, like, I knew Oliver. I used to see him at wedding fairs, and he had this beautiful tweed suit, and I was like, and he could pull it off. Yeah. Whereas some person stood next to an office chair looking awkward as anything. It's never going to be the same, is it? So
no.
But every shoot I do, I kind of like reorganize an office. I do. Like yesterday, I was lugging this massive table because, like, people hire me as like they just want results. They don't care how I get them. It's like as long as I put everything back. But it was so nice to have you because I'm not used to that. I usually work on my own, and I don't work in the kind of the design agencies like you do, and go where there's art directors and stuff. And to me, that's a whole new world. And I've always been terrified of that. Again, one thing, I've never had the confidence, and then the other thing is like because I'm a creative, I don't like people telling me what to do.
I get it.
I did a shoot for a national sort of hotel gym earlier this year, and they had like all these art directors and everything, and this guy was just stood behind me going, right, you need to be 1 inch to the left. Oh, I was like, what? He's like, no, you need to do this, need to do that, and I just felt like I was a button presser. Like me, it's about the creative process and getting that. But we had models, and we had like an art director, and we had all this stuff happening. And I was like, it took me away. It took my magic away. So I'm not saying I can't do that, but I'd have to work with like kind of in your environment in less of a controlled way, if that makes sense. But
yeah. It's definitely because I get given briefs and like, okay, you've got a style to this, and the photographer gets like crops, you've got to crop into this, and it's very directed, where I think like what you're doing is more natural and more like creative in your own way. And I think there's some people that can do both, and there's some people who get scared of how you do it, and there's obviously you feel a little bit intimidated by the way that it's done with art directors, and especially like that's kind of bad practice that someone was over your shoulder saying like you need to move an inch, like just
it was all right, and it was a communication thing, but like it took me about an hour to understand because it sent me these like kind of sheets and pictures about what he wanted, like this mood board, and I thought this is just a mood board. I didn't know he wanted me to copy the exact poses and stuff, and like a model trying to punch a punching bag, but his arm had to be like in the exact same place, and his eyes had to be. And I was like, to me, it was just so forced. For me, I was like, oh just whack it and stuff, like, and I'll capture that. But they're a kind of a different caliber of like clients than I get. I get a lot of like smaller businesses and stuff, and I do need to move into like higher clients, but it's just how to do it. and who's my client. Like one of the clients I've been photographing of late is it's a Yorkshire tailors.
Oh, nice.
So they just want me to come in and like document what they do, because they want it real. They want to tell their story, because no one knows about how much like the whole bespoke thing is. Like the suit is created from absolutely nothing, and it's all done in this factory with these people who've got like 45 years of experience, and like they want them pictures to be able to show, to like put on the social media and the website and everything, because people don't understand it's a lot easier to show a picture than to write a massive blurb. So they just get me in, and I was like, and I've always done this, and like when I'm photographing like big kind of organizations, I always say like the best way to work with me is to show me what you do, give me kind of a brief of what you're looking for, and then just let me off my lead.
Yeah.
And then I just go into street photography mode, and like I try and tell the story of the organization, but use the people to do that. So sometimes people go, "Oh, John, can you photograph us this machine? It's like, it's just cost us $100,000. I was like, it's just a machine. But then if you see someone using it, it brings that to life.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, so I want to do a lot more of that, really. But with kind of companies that want to pay me money instead of like tenner.
I think that's the that it's so difficult as a creative knowing your worth, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we won't go into this because I've done all podcasts on this blooming thing.
It's hard, and I think like you're doing the right thing with like knowing your niche is people, clearly people, and clearly like you're bringing these stories to life of like these. I'd love to see those images of that, the people who've been working in this tailors for 45 years, because what an incredible story that they've stuck with that job and loved it so much that they're doing it for 45 years, you know? And I think it's really interesting that you're kind of being given free rein round and just being like, right, guys, I'm just gonna kind of barely noticed, but taking all these gorgeous shots of people. And I think it's just such a talent to be able to do that, and to be such a good eye to see where you can get a good frame from, a good shot from.
Yeah, and it's like it's documenting history.
Yeah.
And because I'm Yorkshire, and like industry has always been a big part. Like kind of like whole towns and like were created on like textile industries, and now there's hardly anyone left. So it's so important to kind of capture this stuff, really, as I see it, and I want to do it in a natural way. And they're always asking me to do other things, and I have ideas. Like the other day, I says, "Oh, I tell you, it'd be fantastic." I says, "I know you want some suits photographing, like," and I says, "Why don't we on like the upstairs of this like big mill? There's where all the cutting's done, and they've got these massive long tables." I said, "I tell you what, I'd make an amazing shot." I says, "If we got someone walking up and down these tables or like a catwalk, and then everyone else like working around them."
Oh, that's cool.
There's like, "No, do you know how much them tables cost? He would kill you." So, like, honestly, but until I know that, I've just sent you a link actually. But it's just, I love telling stories of companies, and I did it in a place where they made tankers, and there's only like one place in like the whole of UK that make these tankers, and I was walking around and everyone's like over 70.
Wow!
And these people have been working there since being a kid, and the problem is they've got all these amazing skills, but there's no apprentices because no one wants to work on that. So all these skills are going to die with these people, you know. It's like, so I think it's so important to actually document that sort of stuff now. I find it fascinating, honestly do. So if I can kind of work with organisations like that, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think you're so right as well. I think people don't have as much patience for those kind of learning those crafts and skills anymore.
No, they don't. They all want to be like kind of YouTubers, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, you know, let's be next Mr. Beast. So, whoever he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that's so cool that you're like a part of the history as well, taking pictures of these like cool, like historical vintage kind of brands that are still going.
Yeah.
You know, like how incredible that this Taylor's is still going, even though so many others are shut down. There's got to be a reason why it's still going, you know. And I think it's so cool that you get to go and have a little sneak peek as well and be like, oh, this is how you.
This is it. It's like I go everywhere. I find it fascinating. So, like, honestly, like, yeah, sometimes I'm at solicitors and that can be, you know, but I get hired from the solicitors because they don't want the regular shots.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first shoot I did with them, I took like the director to Bradford of all places because that's where the office was. Took him to like Centenary Square, and there's this like fountain, and there was like this dirty chav doing like wheelies around this fountain. So I was like, I'm photographing her with this guy just doing wheelies and stuff, and it's photographs that get attention. It stands out because, like, in these days, everyone's always doom scrolling, and it's like if I can make them stop for even fraction of a second to actually click onto it, or someone go, "Oh, look at this," it's kind of done the job, hasn't it? And hopefully, they'll read whatever's being posted. But yeah,
and I think as well, like softening solicitors in the way that you're doing that by like having a solicitor on a farm with some cows behind her, it like makes them as a company more approachable as well.
Yeah.
So it's like working both ways really there.
Yeah, and as I said before, it's people buy from people. Yeah. If I'm working with a solicitor, I want to know what they look like and who they are and a little bit about them, you know. I don't want this faceless person. So, you know, that's what it's all about now, isn't it? All this social media, it's about our own personal brand.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm having to show myself a bit more.
You're doing a good job, John. You're doing a good job.
I'm trying my best. I'm trying. Yeah.
I saw your stories the other day. I think it was when you were on the farm, actually, and maybe some other stuff you're editing. And I was like, oh, yes, John's getting out there. I was like, yes.
Yeah, and even like, because I spend half my life like looking at a computer screen editing, and people are like, oh, people want to see you like that you're editing. And I was like, how boring is that? And then I always like have a podcast on, like I always like listening to a skateboard podcast. So I always kind of have two screens and I just show like a glimpse of that. So once again, it just shows a little bit more interest. It's a bit like, oh, tell us about John. You are quite actually interesting. You've got an interesting background. So I am having to force myself to do that, but it's not too bad. And then the other thing I've kind of been thinking about is because I've got millions of stories, and I remember every single picture I've taken for the last 20 years. I've got this like amazing memory about things. And I keep thinking of taking a picture and actually doing like kind of a bit of a commentary about what happened in that picture and setting up a bit of a YouTube thing, but I haven't yet.
Oh, that sounds really interesting because I think a lot of people just assume that photographers just go click, bang, done.
Yeah.
And actually, like, there's way more to it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting. I'd like, that's something that I'd like definitely watch. And I'd like, because I think there's so many things that can be intriguing and definitely, you know, say with your couple that were on a disability scooter with like a dog and confetti and stuff, like, people want to know what happened. That story, that picture tells a story, but also there's a story behind that picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. And I remember every single picture. So yeah, which is bonkers. And I've taken I've got over a million just in cloud. So yeah,
that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. I can't remember what I did yesterday. So like, that's insane.
Short-term memory, I'm not great with, but for every picture I've ever taken, I remember. I can look at it and I know instantly kind of what was happening and blah blah blah, who I was with, or what the weather was doing, or
Wow.
yeah.
That's an insane skill. Yeah, definitely get that on YouTube, John. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then we'll have to get you on TikTok.
No, I can't do it. I don't even have TikTok on my phone. Like, I refuse. I have a friend that keeps sending me TikToks, but I was like, no, don't. I can't. And oh no, I hate social media as it is. So I don't. Oh no.
Yeah. It's one of those, isn't it? Like, I think, again, for our jobs, it's like a love-hate thing. Like, I love looking at it and I don't mind posting on it, but I also think, oh God, do people really want to see me getting in a light tent, like styling?
I think they do, though. I think people find that interesting because it's like, oh, this is life of a stylist, isn't it? I find that interesting because it's something I don't really see.
Yeah.
I did a styled wedding shoot 2 weeks ago in a new wedding venue in Huddersfield, and it was on a farm with a teepee and stuff, and we had a bride groom that couldn't even pose. It couldn't even stand, never mind pose. It was like, if you're a model, like, please learn how to pose. I just even know how to stand, but he just looked awkward, everything. But then they brought the people who did the suit, they actually brought their own stylist as well. And she was great, and she was running up and like changing his trousers and stuff. And I'm terrible with attention to detail like that. So so it's nice to have someone like that because I don't see that. I'm looking at composition and lighting and everything else that's going on, what's in the frame, and I don't see like a flower that's like.
Yeah, well, that's it, because I feel like stylists are like second set of eyes because we can see. I often look and I'm like, okay, that lighting, like maybe we try this, and like I can see similar like composition things, but then I'm focused on the
detail.
way, like the model's hands might look, or like where their chin's tilted, or it's just how you just see things slightly differently. And that's why it's really cool to work with people who have like worked together as a team, because then you're like, right, okay, John's got composition and light and sorted, so I can focus on the models and the horse and whatever else, and like, right, okay, the bunting's gone a bit funny, I'll go run in and sort that. So it's really nice to know that you've got that bit covered, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm terrible at that, honestly. But again, because mine are more like real people, they're not always after perfection.
No.
So, I photograph people, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, have you seen my chins?" And I was like, "Yeah, but that's what you look like." And people used to say, "Oh, can you remove my chins?" And I was like, spend ages removing them, and they're like, "Oh, it don't look like me. Can you put them back?" So now it's kind of like, I say hashtag no filter, to be honest. So yeah.
And I think that's the nice thing about it, and that's probably like the difference in like studio photography and like what you're doing, because studio photography, it's got to be like within an style to within an inch of its life. I mean, stuff has got more relaxed now. I don't shoot model anymore, but like stuff has got more relaxed, but like it used to be like pinned. I'm talking 12, 15 years ago. It used to be like pinned to within an inch of its fucking life on set. And then the models couldn't move. You'd be like, don't move because all your pins will come out the back of your shirt. But now it is slightly, from what I see my colleagues doing, it is slightly more relaxed, but it's just what's in fashion, isn't it, really, I guess? So.
That would be why I'd find your stuff interesting, because it's something I don't do. So
yeah. It's great that we can all like learn from each other, and actually like our jobs are similar to a certain extent, but then actually they're so different as well, because we're in different parts of the same industry. And there's so many different layers to being a photographer, being a stylist. You can do 1,000 different things under the same umbrella of photographer, can't you?
But everyone, like, if you say you're a photographer, everyone just goes, "Oh, can you photograph a wedding?" Like, that's all I think. Or like, "Oh, can you photograph kids?" I was like, but like you said, there's so much more. And sometimes I wish I'd have niched sometimes I wish I'd be like the world's best at photographing chair legs or something, because it made my life a lot easier, particularly on the marketing front. It's like, if you want a chair leg photographing, John's your man. But unfortunately, I didn't do that, did I? Yeah.
Well, I think that's it with like niching as well. Like, I say I'm a still lifestylist now, but like, I mean, what does that mean to people? Like, I like doing products. I like doing
do opposite that I do.
Yeah. And that's why I knew I could.
If it talks, you get scared.
Yeah. However, if it's an animal, I'm fine with it.
Right.
That's the only live models I'm good at now.
Yeah.
No, I still do models if they're needed, but like, it's, you do niche out and then you go, oh shit, should I have niched?
Yeah.
And like you, I'm having, I think, oh, should I have niched? Have I missed out on something else? But I don't think you do, but
no.
So I've got one final question for you, John.
Go for it.
And you can answer it however you see fit, but what inspires you?
What inspires me?
Yeah.
For me, it's all about people. And so when I was younger, I used to love people watching. Like when I was working in the solicitors at my £6,250 job, I'd have a dinner hour and I'm working in the Leeds City Centre and I'd just go to art gallery and I'd just sit and watch people. I find people fascinating. So it's kind of, and how you look at the world as well. So when I was a skateboarder, for example, I used to look at the city as a playground. Mm-hmm. So if someone asked me for directions, most people go, oh, you go up there and the Black Bull's on your right-hand side. And, well, I don't drink. So if people give me pub directions, and I used to go, right, if you go up here, then there's like a set of 5 stairs over there. And then you go there and there's like an handrail. And seeing like the city like that. And now I see everything as a photographer. So I'm always looking at light and everything. So everything's about people and light, really. So nowadays, you're not allowed to people watch. You get into trouble, don't you? So it's kind of, how can I still do my people watching?
Yeah.
And work at the same time? Oh, right, documentary photography. And so I'm just like, particularly on a wedding, I'm capturing people who are really happy, having a good time. And yeah, I get inspiration from just watching people and just reading people and just they fascinate me, the people. And like, you can't just go to like Huddersfield like train station and just sit there like that, can you? Because people are always here again, that weirdo. Yeah. Not that you're looking, but if you take a camera, and I love street photography as well, where you're like walking around and you're watching for people, but even then, you're likely to get your head kicked in these days. So it's kind of, yeah. But I think it's just people. Yeah. I find them fascinating, because everyone's so different. So you can meet them from afar, and then just talking to them as well. And because I do everything, I meet so many interesting people, and you're like, so that's my inspiration, really. Yeah.
That's such a lovely answer, because I think you're right. People are so unique and we're all a little bit weird and we've all got our own little quirky ways.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Like me and my husband do it when we're on holiday. We'll go and have a coffee and like just sit outside and people watch.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Like in the UK, I think people are a little less open to.
Oh, we're very reserved. Yeah. But I just want real people. I don't want false. And it's like, just let me watch these people. And like, if I go to like a museum, like I was at Salts Mill the other day, and again, it's just people. I find it fascinating just sitting there watching people. I was actually kind of manning this photography exhibition, and there were all these people just coming in, and they're all different ages, different walks of life, and like, you see what they're wearing and you see how they act, and like, just just find them all fascinating.
Yeah, I can totally see how that translates into your shooting style as well, because it's, it's got all your real people having real moments, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I want. That's why I don't like faking anything, because sometimes I see like reels of wedding photographers, and they'll be like there on a bridal party in the morning, and I saw one where they're all sat on a bed, and the photographers, everyone laugh, ha 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 ha, and you're like, oh, that's bullshit, man. Like, honestly, like, yeah. I like, if I'm photographing like a family or something, if the kid's being moody, I want to photograph the moody kid. Like, my pictures of my kids, like, I've got 2 daughters, and I've never, they hate having the picture taken. They don't want me to set anything up. Sometimes I think, I could really do with this, and I'll make it like a fun game around them. Like, and it's kind of like, I want to just capture who they are. I want to capture their real personalities. If they're being moody in a corner, I want to photograph them moody in a corner, Yeah. And now, like, I didn't even take pictures of my kids for ages. I had to put it in my diary to take pictures of my kids, because I like, oh, well, I don't want to take pictures of my kids. It's work, innit? I've got pictures to edit. So, but yeah, it's like, I want to see these kids growing up, and like, I want to see what they do, really. And I've got every year I print these books out, and the what I'd save if the place set on fire. And no one prints anything out these days, and it's like, it's just a record of them and what we do. So yeah, again, it's just people, just like real life. Yeah. I love real life.
Yeah. And I think you're so right about printing stuff off, because whenever I go back to my grandma's house and she's got like photo albums from like the 90s when we were kids, they're cracking to look at. They're so good. And I think we forget that nostalgia that you get and that feeling you get from looking at a photo that happened, in the summer of 97 or whatever for us, like, and you're doing something stupid. And
but again, this is like age and experience. So like when my dad died, like, I hardly had any pictures of him. I was like, and a lot of my memories of that. And then I remember one wedding I did, and I met them at a wedding fair in York in January. And they says, oh, we're interested in you photographing your wedding. We love your pictures. And I said, oh, when's your wedding? Thinking, 2 years. Oh, it's in 4 weeks' time. And I was like, well, when did you start organising this? Well, we've only just started organising it. But it's because the groom's mum was terminally ill.
Yeah.
So I knew that all they cared about were pictures, real connections. They didn't care about the shoes on the bath or a dress in a tree. It's like, it's real people. And I learned so much from these experiences. And so many times, like, people get in touch with me and say, oh, can you send us that picture because we've lost so-and-so. And they have a record of time. It's like, and how I've caught the person as well. It's like the real life them. It's like, oh yeah, that's how we want to remember so and so. I've got one where there's I've photographed this granny, and I've photographed her kind of in the day, and she's 83-year-old. But then there's one where she's on the dance floor and she's got this stick and she's twirling a stick. And you're like, that's how you want to remember her, isn't it? Yeah. Honestly. But I was like, that to me is how I would want to remember someone. It's real. It's like, it's not weird posy stuff, is it? So.
No. And that's like the best. I can imagine that you still, when you look at that picture, you still laugh and remember that moment where she's like swinging this stick around her head.
Yeah.
And like for her family, they must be like, oh, bloody hell, grandma, that was hilarious.
Yeah, but that's a real person, isn't it? That's Granny. Yeah.
Oh, that's fab. That's fab. Yeah. That's a great.
like yesterday, I was like going through some pictures, and I use different cameras for my kids because like I don't use my work cameras because it seems work. And I was just going through, and I hadn't edited anything since Christmas. And my mum, who's 80, there's pictures of my kids throwing, got this thing called poo head, where you stick these like this little hat thing on which Velcro, and you throw a Velcro poo. And I was just looking at these pictures of my mum like getting poo thrown at her on, and I was like, that's my mum. That's who I want to remember. She's 80 now, and she has seen better days, but it's kind of like they're the pictures that I'll be remembering. Yeah. Real. Yeah.
And they're the pictures that you'll look back on in 10 years' time and be like, that was hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. People.
Oh, that's so fun. And so I'm going to end it there because I don't think we can beat your mum having poo's thrown at her head.
Poed Maureen. Yeah.
Poed Maureen.
Yeah. That could be a thumbnail. You don't need pictures of me, do you? I've shown you my mum having poo thrown at her.
Yes, please send us that picture, please.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. Cool. It has been so lovely to hear your story and to get to know you a little bit better, because I feel when we first met, we were on a rock in the middle of Marsden Moor.
We were grafting, weren't we?
We were grafting, yeah, we were.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for that.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!